Oh my. All right, so we have two more left. The next one is Cliff Treyens, who's with the National Groundwater Association. And so Cliff, the NGWA is part of our program, or part of a partner in our grant. And so we've got to know each other pretty well over the last 4 or 5 years. So Ian, it's all yours. Sorry.
All right. Okay, thanks. So how data can improve well owner outreach effectiveness? I don't think I have to convince anybody here that that's important, but I think you're going to find some things maybe that are a little surprising. So it's hard to lead someone when you can't see where you're going, and I'm thinking of the leaders being the programs and the followers being the well owners. Data can be very important in this process of direction. Without sufficient data, many well owner outreach programs don't lead with clear direction. There's all kinds of measurements that you can take, but some provide critical information to guide the direction of the program. So we did some research with CDC and found that most programs literally cannot demonstrate effectiveness in terms of mitigation of health risks. They don't have the data to do that. Two key data gaps I'm going to talk about are measuring reach into the audience and then measuring whether well owners mitigate health risks. So these are two take-home points I hope people will remember from this presentation. NGWA interviewed 30 well owner outreach program managers to get qualitative information based on their experience, and then the Ohio State University College of Public Health did a search of relevant literature to give us more quantitative information. So question, what does it mean to measure audience reach? Basically measuring how many well owners are reached in the total target population, which means you have to know what the total target population is and then be able to measure against that with precision. Question, why is measuring the audience reach important? How are you going to know what proportion of your well owner population you're reaching if you can't identify who they are and who you've reached? It's common sense. Why is it important to measure mitigation by well owners? Well, again, this is obvious, but mitigation is the ultimate measure of effectiveness. If we're doing all these things, but it's not changing behavior to mitigate risk, then what have we accomplished? Question, why do more programs not measure audience reach or risk mitigation activity? We don't have a clear answer to that. There's probably a multitude of reasons which some of you can probably testify to. Anecdotal evidence suggests that the solutions to these two data gaps are simple conceptually, but not necessarily easy to execute. Silence. Some programs, several programs compared property tax records to water utility records. They identified a residence on the property taxes, and then if they weren't on a water utility, there was a high probability they were a well owner. And so this gave them very precise information on the number of well owners and where they were located. So think about how useful that can be when you're trying to reach people. More silence. Some programs we talked about follow-up to find out what actions they were taking, and so some programs did follow-ups at various intervals. I think we heard reference to 1, 2, 3 years out, but there needs to be follow-up to find out what their actions are to mitigate. And so with needed staff and resources, programs can document program success in reducing threats to human health. It is doable. These methodologies aren't hard, but bottom line, a program cannot prove effectiveness if it cannot show how much of its target population it's reaching, casting a wide net but not knowing what fish they're catching, and then how many well owners in the target population have actually acted to mitigate the risk, which is the ultimate goal that I think all these programs are trying to reach. Well owner outreach programs tend to measure activities, but not necessarily behavioral change resulting in actual risk mitigation. And this can often be a resource issue, just having the personnel to do it. So if your program is flying blind in that sense, consider these two key metrics to drive program improvement and health risk mitigation. You can improve your program if you know certain things aren't working and then build on that. So I want to thank the CDC for its support of our research, and thank you for listening, and I welcome your questions.
Later.